Welcome viewers, welcome back to the class on ESD, Education for Sustainable Development. So, in the last class we are discussing about Mejiro's transformative learning theory and what are the 10 steps that we have already discussed. Now, let us to continue with that. So, principles of andragogy. So, let us define what is andragogy. Pedagogy is the science and art of teaching, but andragogy primarily deals with the adult education. So, andragogy again the same thing, that is science and art of teaching for the adult learners. Okay. So, here we can see there are 6 assumptions that are often started as the principles of adult education. So, what are these principles of andragogy? Need to know why. So, when the adult learner learns, he has to understand why he is learning. The know hows, not only the know what and know hows, but know why also, why he has picked up a subject, why he is learning a subject, how it is going to add value to his career or the life, etc. So, that is called the need to know why. So, why of learning. Then self concept, his own self concept, like his idea about his self concept about his own abilities, disabilities, strengths, weaknesses, personality, also how much he knows about himself, that is the self concept, self identity. Yeah, role of experience, of course, past experience plays a very vital role in learning. So, role of experience is that whatever background experiences, learning experiences, practical experiences he is having. So, role of experience. Readiness to learn. Readiness to learn is that whether the learner is prepared to learn or not. That is, this primarily deals with the motivational aspect, whether he is not only developmentally or in terms of the cognitive ability he is ready, but also in terms of motivation also he is ready to learn, he is willing to learn, that is the preparedness for the learning. Then orientation to learning. So, what is his orientation towards the learning, what is his background, what is his entry behavior, like the current knowledge, and what is his again motivation. Motivation is whether he is only extrinsically motivated because he has to complete it for some degree qualification or so and so, or actually that means basically or inherently, or you can say intrinsically he is motivated. He is motivated to learn something. So, that is why these are the 6 principles, that is need to know why he is learning, self concept about his self ideas about his individual self, abilities, weaknesses, competencies, skills, everything. Role of experience, what sort of experience he has already gathered, that is his past from his past learning and practical experiences. Readiness to learn, that is the preparedness to learn, to take up a course. Then orientation towards the learning, what is his background, that means what is his already existing orientation towards the learning. Motivation, that is how much he is motivated externally and intrinsically. So, these are the factors that determines the andragogy. So, now let us discuss about the analysis on how to foster transformative learning. So, having these principles, that means taking into account these basic principles of andragogy. Now, let us see how transformative learning can be fostered in case of the adult learners. So, again these are some of the factors that can foster the transformative learning in the online environment, and the physical environment, offline environment, definitely that the steps that we have followed, or we can say the Kolb's experiential learning model facilitates a lot. Now, in the online mode, how it is possible, how transformative learning can be enhanced. So, first thing is the relationship. Relationship is that transformative learning can be fostered by establishing, supporting and trusting relationship. Here again online, the individual, the physical distance is there, everybody, all the participants, all the learners, they are learning remotely with their own instrument, with their own setup, but the physical distance is there. So, here then the learning community, in the learning environment or in the online classrooms, there must be support system, there must be supportive and trusting relationship between the between the learners and the mentor or the teacher or the tutor, and the learner and the co-learners and the peers. So, there must be a kind of supportive environment, trusting relationship is there even in the online platform, then only transformative learning can be fostered. Okay. So, then the critical reflection. Critical reflection is it is a metacognitive skill, that is to reflect on not only individual's own learning process, but to analyze the problems on the topics at hand. So, critical reflection, through critical reflection, transformative learning goes hand in hand with the critical reflection. because it becomes very essential to critically analyze the issues at hand. So, suppose when you are the learner is being exposed to any kind of particular topic, etc. So, he should start analyzing its in dimensions, aspects, etc. So, whatever he is taking up as the current topic. So, he has to analyze it, critically evaluate it. So, it becomes very much essential for transformative learning to critically analyze the issues at hand. Then only, because without critical analysis evaluation, you can move ahead. You cannot, that means you cannot find out that its effectiveness, innovativeness, or what's wrong with it, and how to resolve that dilemma, conflict, all kinds of things. So, then how to formulate the strategy to experiment on this. So, transformative learning goes hand in hand with the critical analysis, critical reflection of what is the topic that the learner is at present going through. So, then direct and active experience. Of course, direct and active experience is very important. It is found that most of the important aspects of direct experience and that are meaningful to the learners, that through theoretically or online platform only, sitting in the classrooms, whatever we are learning, we have to experiment it on the field. So, that is why the experiential learning or the direct and active experience, maybe that he has picked up the problem from the classroom and he has to he has to analyze it in the grassroots level or in the ground in the reality. So, then that kind of direct and active experience will further enhance the learning. So, again then readiness for the transformative experience, that the learner must be aware of or must be ready, that means ready to that means to move ahead throughout the transformative learning process, because now if the individual's awareness and readiness encourages them. So, he must be intrinsically motivated, he must be self encouraged and must be aware of the transformative learning, that means the transformative learning steps and how how they are going to achieve it, how they are going through this process to learn the concepts. So, readiness for the transformative experience, like whether the learner is ready and prepared to experience those transformative learning experiences or not. Then the discourse, that is the discussion, the dialogue, having the discussion and dialogue on the critical aspects of the transformative learning. There are many advantages of doing this in online. Now we can, this discourse can take place through online conversation, online chatting, online discussion, online through Google Meet and all kinds of the Zoom and all kinds of learning platforms, even through Moodle also, LMS, through also LMS also. So, this can be facilitated and the critical aspect of the transformative learning can be carried on even in the online process, but provided the learner is ready and willing to learn from the transformative learning, because transformative learning requires the critical thinking, active participations and reflective thinking. All kinds of higher order thinking skills are required for transformative learning, and the learner should be prepared for that, besides motivation. Okay. So, now in practice, how in practice transformative learning can happen. So, when the transformative learning is the goal of adult education, then the environment should be the environment in which it should be achieved should fulfill this criteria, like the role, it is the role of the educator. It has to be very much specified that what is the role of the educator, the role of the professional development of the educator, who is going to educate the learners, who is going to train the learners. So, what is his professional development background. Then the strategies of transformative learning, transformative professional development, what strategies they are going to adopt for this transformative professional development. Then examples in the educator professional development, the role of the learner and the role of the rational and the affective domain. So, here you can say for transformative learning to carry on in online platform. So, the educator's role is very important here. So, the role of the educator to be very specific, and his professional development, his background, his strategies he is going to adopt. Then the role of the learner, what would be the role of the learner, what the learners are expected to perform and do. So, the role of the rational and affective here again. So, here first the two aspects are there. Rational is the cognitive, that means logical analysis would be very much required, and affective is that willingness, the motivation, that means interest and passion for learning that things in the transformative learning environment. So, some of the examples we can see, some of the examples of transformative learning, as you can see, like examples of transformative learning, like exposure to different cultural experiences that can also facilitate the expansion of one's world view, foster empathy and appreciation of diversity, that we have already discussed, that how cultural diversity, cultural experiences, cultural exposure, multicultural knowledge, etc., or you can say the cross cultural or cultural intelligence facilitates in understanding the different cultural issues, unique features and their habits, then their traditions. So, those things will help in broadening the learner's world view. So, that is why facilitating the expansion of world view of the learner through exposing to different cultural experiences, that can also further enhance the empathy and appreciation of the diversity, and it increases the perspective, increases the broader outlook and the individual's perspectives. So, learning and development also, again leaders should serve as a guide to and the facilitator. They should guide and facilitate in guiding in terms of the resources available, in terms of promoting the autonomous thinking and growth, and guiding them how they can strategically use the platform, how they can strategically approach the learning by using the different ICT tools, etc., towards the goal achievement and the, you can say, more of permanent learning experience. So, that is the leaders, they serve as a guide, as a mentor, as a facilitator to give the rather than only giving instruction, but rather than only giving instruction, they can promote the autonomous thinking, independent thinking, reflective thinking, creative thinking, and growth, the psychophysical growth of the learner by playing the role of a mentor, a guide, a facilitator, a friend, like this thing. So, then the enhancing the personal questioning through the journaling as well as cultivating the critical awareness of assumptions. So, during the discussions, during this learning period, the learners should also be you can say motivated, encouraged for asking many questions, queries, to participate in the journaling, then journaling in the discussions, in the discussions, in the debate, having the discourse, dialogue, all kinds of arguments, discussions, and peer to peer discussion, then group learning, group discussion. So, and asking questions, formulating hypothesis, critical awareness, assumptions, making assumptions and validating it, all these kind of things. This is called the enhancing the personal questioning. So, this is here the learner will learn how to ask questions. So, how to know, because is the why of learning is also is not know how and know heart, but it is the why of learning. So, therefore, encouraging the learners to ask many questions through journaling, through assumptions, through critical awareness, etc., etc. So, then again enable the learners to play an instrumental role in, for example, instrumental role in that in their own learning. That means they are the key stakeholder in their own learning process. They have taken the responsibility. So, that might be, that means that is that might be achieved in corporate training through creation of professional learning team. So, enabling the learner to play an instrumental role not only in their own learning, taking the ownership, and at the same time this can also be achieved through corporate training through the creation of the professional learning team. So, the professional trainers are there to educate, to learn, to motivate, to enable the learners to be independent learners. So, enable the learners to play an instrumental role in owning their own responsibility. So, now according to again UNESCO Global Action Plan, transformative learning and training, the environment has been considered as if one of the first 5 priority action areas. So, transformative learning activities, training and development environment has been considered as the one of the 5 priority areas, 5 priority action areas. What are these areas? Critical reflection about social context, because as we know in sustainability 3 domains are there: social, environmental and economical. So, here critical reflection about social context, okay, that has to be encompassed under the transformative learning, because unless and until you identify an issue and critically evaluate the social issues that includes the environment, educational environment, as well as the as a setup, as an institutional setup. So, to subject the power relations, that means to discuss the social issues, to analyze its different dimensions, in which context it is happening. So, that includes the educational environment as well as the institutional setting subject to power the relationship. Okay, transformative learning is not possible in reality without transformative teaching. So, in order to examine it or experience the reality or experiential, for enabling the experiential learning, transformative learning should be accompanied by the transformative teaching. So, it has to begin with transformative teaching and training to some extent. That will include that should include the emphasizing on personal experiences, how the learners will be motivated to analyze his past experience, personal experience, then how he will be able to learn, that means self-organized knowledge, whatever he has learned in the past, how he is going to organize it, self-organized knowledge, values, emotions, then interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary subjects, etc. So, it has to be initiated through training, teaching, formal teaching and training, and thereafter the learners will be exposed to reality for transformative learning in practical sense, that means in resolving the dilemmas and the issues. So, a role shift is also necessary. Here the shifting the role is also very important, like teachers to take as the role of a coaches, as the mentor, as the facilitator, as the guide. So, instead of giving only formal instruction, they have to facilitate the whole learning process. It is again we can say it is a co-learning process. So, they also along with the students they are learning together. So, co-learners. So, learning and co-learning not only among the students, but also between the students and the teachers who are also major stakeholders. So, it is again the shift the teacher's role is not just an instructor, but also he is a learner himself. He is a co-learner along with the students as well as the other teachers who are also directly or indirectly related to the issues, or they are also the major stakeholders of the society. So, role shift is also nature. So, here again why we say that teaching is a job of continuous learning, lifelong learning. For this, because for the teachers they have to learn also throughout the life. So, the role shifting, like from the only teachers to take the role of a coach, a mentor, a facilitator, a guide, a friend and a co-learner. Then United Nations ESD competency framework, even EC and ESD competency framework, it highlighted that the educators need for teaching sustainability the holistic approach, enlightening the change and achieving transformation, So, UNESCO ESD competency framework in 2011, it has already highlighted, has already stated that the educators of sustainable educators, the need for teaching sustainability also, as a sustainability as a concept also they have to expose it with a holistic approach, the holistic approach like whole institution approach, holistic perspective, holistic approach, enlightening the change, that how we are focusing on and envisioning the change for the future, sustainable future, what are the changes required for having the sustainable future and achieving how the transformation can be achieved. So, this competency the teachers, the educators, the trainers, the mentors, they should also develop, they should also learn about the sustainability competences, and they should also learn the competencies that is mentioned in the UNESCO ESD competency framework. So, here I can say this is the implication for, then let us see what is the implication for Indian higher education system, higher education policy and research. The National Knowledge Commission has come up in 2007. So, National Knowledge Commission has come up in 2007, which stated that the universities must become the hub of research once again to capture the synergies between teaching and research. Here we have to, that means one is that Knowledge Commission and second is the participatory sustainable development. So, again and again this policy national policy and education National Knowledge Commission emphasize that along with the teaching, higher education institutions should also carry forward the research, because research can enrich the teaching, not only the teaching, through research also so many social issues and the problems can be resolved. So, it requires not only the policy measures, but also changes in the resource allocation, reward systems, mindset. So, now these rules and regulation in terms of fellowship, in terms of student exchange programs, in terms of collaborative degrees like the MOUs between Indian universities and the foreign universities, MOUs, dual degrees, and student exchange program, faculty exchange program, offering the internship to do it in other universities abroad. So, these are some of the facilities to be introduced to, that is to enrich and enhance not only the teaching in higher education, but to develop a kind of research mindset, and through research and how research, applied research, both the basic research and applied research are important. But research followed by the publication quality of research, they should reflect on the take up the social issues. So, social issues are the which can be implemented for the resolving the social social problems or these things. In this way we can also address our research towards the sustainability also. So, R&D in India, and even in corporate sector it is already there, but in Indian universities and the higher education institution, it should be effective, it should be made effective based on the participatory research, like industry academia collaboration, industry private universities collaboration, so PPP model. So, that is it's kind of, we can also adopt a participatory research approach. So, here we can say participatory sustainable development is the process that is in which people influence and share the control of over development. So, all the major stakeholders, like you can say it is a multi-stakeholder kind of initiative. So, all the stakeholders, they play a key role in taking the initiative, in decision making, in resource allocation, and think and reflect critically, and they are also allowed to take the decisions and design some of the part of the research, and they are also empowered to become partners in decision making and contribute towards the creative problem solving. So, participatory sustainable development programs through through collaboration and multi-stakeholder approach can also be initiated. So, teaching accompanied by the research followed by the quality publications and different, and for strengthening this research, then different kinds of policy frameworks can be done, like exchange program, fellowships, all kinds of things, inter-university and collaborations across the globe, and participatory sustainable development approach should be adopted for, especially for the Indian education system. So, the transformative learning's implication for Indian higher education system is that it has to promote the research and practice which can bring transformation not only in our education system, but in our society. So, therefore, transformative learning is actually a paradigm shift for Indian higher education. It is a paradigm shift for Indian higher education. New education policy 2020 also advocated for to promote the education among the people in India, to improve the quality, not only the quality of education, but all the targets of quality education, SDG 4, global citizenship, global partnership, as well as all the 17 goals, all the 17 SDG goals. So, the policy, it covers the elementary education to college, both rural, urban, across the country. The new policy ensures the how the quality of education can be enhanced from the grassroots level to the higher education level, okay, and how to promote creativity, innovation, how to promote reflective thinking, critical analysis. So, therefore, how national education policy looks into the improving the quality of education of our system. Okay. So, that is the transformative learning paradigm shift for the Indian higher education. Now, then change in the pedagogical structure. For example, the new education policy advocates the change of pedagogical structure, as you can know, 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4. Earlier the 10 plus 2 board, it was dissolved. Now, the new structure is class up to 5, class 5 primary, 5, then 3, 6, 7, 8, 7, 8, then 9, 10, 11, then plus 4 year. So, which comes a big relief, okay, because it also includes some opportunities for the vocational education, and even if somebody drops out in between they can also follow up, they can also carry forward their learning process later on. So, similarly transforming the teaching learning process is also required. So, focus on the core subjects is essential, mapping the curriculum across the grades, narrowing the respective core knowledge, these are emphasized. Then again practical application of knowledge, okay, practical application of knowledge, thinking, critical thinking, creative thinking skills, experiential learning, all these things have been emphasized. Then similarly, at the lower level, stress on the importance of literacy, numerical skills, computational skills, etc., are very much required, very much important, so that so that the these area can bring transformation in the teaching strategy, so that the foundational skills can also be developed. Foundational skills like numerical skill, numeracy skill, literacy skill, computational skill, these are some of the basic skills can be developed. Okay. So, therefore, the focus would be given not only at the earliest age of reading, writing, learning and basic skills, but also introducing innovative teaching. Innovative teaching would also be essential to achieve this. So, these are some of the, you can say this some of the specifications of the National Policy of Education that you can go through, like curricular, extracurricular, co-curricular things are there. Then Higher Education Commissions of India, then regulatory councils, these are things already there, you can go through it. These are the National Accreditation Council. So, these are the all the detailed policy structure of the National Education Policy 2020 that you can go through it. The National Research Foundation, similarly National Research Foundation also to be established. Then the National Education Policy 2020 also indicated that how the obsolete, that means how to get away, how to get rid of the obsolete world of learning, and how to step into the multidisciplinary higher education, multiple options and the senior school, multiple chances of accomplishment, then the institution implement the changes that which will bring the transition in the quality education. All these things have been narrated in the National Policy Education. So, pedagogical framework of transformative learning, pedagogical framework of transformative learning, as it has already mentioned that domain that is within the domain of adult education as an education, how the adults learn. So, how the adults learn, actually we have to understand the understand how the adults learn, what is the learning style of the adults. So, and it has also attracted, that means it has to attract the researchers, practitioners on a wide variety of theoretical persuasion as well as the practical setting. Okay. So, there are also different kinds of practical practical challenges, ethical challenges are there, because in service learning environments are of course often very complex and how to maintain the quality. So, the faculty development programs, continuous learning programs, training as a means of thing, and workshop, regular workshop, high impact educational practice. So, therefore, transformative pedagogy shares some of the important aspects with other constructs or the design framework. For example, critical pedagogy. So, here comes a critical pedagogy theory. Critical pedagogy may be characterized as the ideology of education. So, critical pedagogy theory advocates that how we should take up the social issues, critically evaluate in and find out its solutions. So, critical pedagogy is an idea, is based, actually is based on an ideology, and emerged from the legacy of the traditional social thought and progressive educational movement. So, and linking this to the schooling to democratic principle of society, transformative social action, that is the interest of the oppressed communities. Actually, this critical pedagogy theory has come up as an as an outcome of social ideology or radical social thoughts, when the philosophers, the researchers, they have started deeply speculating about the social issues, the causes of these issues, social now especially for the oppressed communities, the interest areas or the sufferings of the oppressed communities and the social issues, the cause and effect relationship. From all this kind of analysis, actually the critical pedagogy theory has come up, and it also plays a very important role in transformative learning and the pedagogical framework in case of higher education. Okay. So, now I am completing it right now. Next class we will continue with other aspects. Okay. Thank you.